Hey guys, welcome back to the Deep Within podcast, where we're changing the narrative one story at a time. Get ready to dive in with us to discover some clarity and peace on this journey through mind, body, and soul. Let's get it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Deep Within podcast. I'm your host, Drew. I got my co-host,
Caleb on the beat.
And we have
Nisha.
Alright, so today we're going to be talking about equal rights, women's rights, and just talking about equality on a whole. Alright, go ahead. Start us out, bro. I know you got a story for us.
We'll segue back into
No, just go with the story, bro. That's funny,
man. I was in middle school. You know, I was a very I was the type of person where I did not care at all who you were. Like, even teachers, I wasn't afraid to, like, tell teachers off, which was kind of a bad thing, too, since I went to, like, a predominantly white middle school in the white area. So I had this girl that kept messing with my stuff. And, yeah, we just got into a little scuffle and whatnot, and then she put her hands on me, and I was close to, like, dropping her right there and then, because I was a little heated. My biggest pet peeve is when people mess with my stuff without asking me. And so I was in, like, the moment of, like, I was, like, tempted to, like, just, like, lay into her. And then I had my teacher come up to me, oh, like, you should never put your, because I ended up, like, pushing her off of me to, like, get her, like, to get off my stuff. And so the teacher came up to me and was like, oh, you should never put your hands on the lady. I was like, bro, like, she's messing with me, she's messing with my stuff. That's just dumb. Like, like, come on now, like, common sense. Then I had this male teacher walk up, none of his business, strolls up. Because apparently I'm a black kid now, and I have anger problems. And so he strolls up, he's like, yeah, you should never put your hand on the lady. I'm like, one, sir, no disrespect, but, like, this has nothing to do with you. And so I was just going about my business, trying to, like, it's not that big of a deal, I'm making a big deal. And so, and it just got me thinking, like, why is it that, like, men are not supposed to put their hands on a female, but, like, I understand that, but why is it okay for a female to put her hands on like a male? And it's like a common thing nowadays. Like, a woman will slap the crap out of a man. Like, I've really seen it before. Like, a woman will slap the crap out of a man, and then, like,
in public, is what you talking about?
Yeah, and then you're supposed to just take it. I'm like, bro, I will sling you into the ground. Right there, you're great. It's just like, stuff like that. It's just like, I think it's ridiculous. Like, me personally, I don't think you should put your hands on anyone, regardless of who it is. But just like, when it comes to equality, it's just like, women are like, oh, equality, but then only when it benefits them to a certain extent. Any comment on that?
I'll say this. I think, and this kind of goes into the segue of dating, which we're not talking about today, but men are taught how to treat women, but women are not taught how to treat a man. And we have this notion where, oh, it's okay if you feel some type of way and your man makes you upset, you can go ahead and slap him. But I can't touch my woman. I can't put my hands on her. That's domestic abuse. But when a woman touches a man, oh, she's defending herself, she's protecting herself. I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, how are we gonna allow women to do one thing, but then if a man does it, we put him on the platform to show, oh, if you do this is what happens. We put him on a pedestal to, like, give consequences or show, like, what happens when you do certain things. So I think when it comes to those things, like you said, oh, a man should never go in a woman's pocketbook, but a woman can go in a man's wallet. Let's make sure it makes sense all across the board. Like, oh, never ask a woman about her weight, but a woman will objectify a man about his weight. I'm like, bro, you're not even making any sense right now. We should never talk about body shaming. We shouldn't do these things. But I really hear women all the time body shaming men. Talk about, a man's financial, it shouldn't matter. But it does, and we use those things as a way to objectify him or talk bad about him. It's just like, I get it. We all have different things in society that play into a role, but it's like, you can't ask for equality, but then when the roles are reversed and it doesn't have anything to do with you, then you don't care.
Mm-hmm. What do you bring to the table? Oh, me. What type of stuff is that? Like, I've literally had people go say that to me. I'm like, what makes you think, like, you deserve a man like that? Like, oh, I want a rich man, like, making 6 figures, like, bring home, so I can just stay at home and be, like, a housewife. I'm like, what makes you think you deserve that? Well, because I'm a 10 out of 10.
How are you 10 out of 10? I cook, I clean. Oh, you mentioned 2 things, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure I could go hire a cleaning company, and then for sure I could get a private chef. So,
bro, I could just hire a maid. At that point, you're basically asking me to be a housemaid, not even a wife.
So tell me again why I need you, bro, because this is not as method. Math is not method at all. But yeah, I think it's very like it's sad in the culture that we live in where women talk about like wanting equality, and I'm not debunking like wanting equality because there are a lot of issues that we have. I'll say one for sure when it comes to pregnancy, like the things that we have in terms of helping women when it comes to pregnancy are trash in America. So I'm not debunking, wanting to raise awareness about those kind of things, but I also think I hate the modern day feminist examples that we give when women talk about wanting to have certain things, but then objectifying men in terms of, taking care of us in a certain realm, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember, quick story, like, I took a theory and knowledge class in high school for 2 years. And so it's basically like about like the ways of the world and like how the world works and functions and like different like types of knowledge. So we talk about like we basically talk about life in itself. And so I remember one day we were talking about like women's rights and equality and whatnot. And so this one girl started talking about like, oh yeah, like women struggle so much and whatnot, and like it's just so unequal, and like women struggle in the workforce and whatnot. I was like, oh really? Like, I was like, you want some equality, but I kid you not, whenever a woman talks about equality, the first thing they talk about, pay. Rights. I'm like, alright, if you want equality, why don't you go sign up for the select service then? Like, just stuff like that. I'm just like, make it make sense. If you want equality, it should be equal in all areas, not just areas that benefit you or that you want to, like, oh, let me put that in my bag, let me take that too. It's like, if you want equality, take it as a whole, not as in, let me just take a piece of the pie.
Nah, facts. And also, women want equality, go ahead and run the household. Make sure your kids are good, make sure your man is good, make sure the finances are good, bring everybody emotional intelligence, spirituality. Go ahead, take care of all that. And it's like, stop acting for things that you're not going to bring to the table, if that makes sense.
I'm not saying women don't do that, because there are like
women
out
for
there
sure.
that do that, like all the single moms out there, proud to you, and just stuff like that. But as a whole, I think that it's just one-sided.
No, for
It's
sure.
just sad.
Yeah. I'm talking about women who are looking to be in relationships that talk about those kind of things of like, oh, my man should do this, my man should bring to this table, having this, he needs to be, and this kind of thing. And I even saw somebody the other day, a lady, they were asking her if all those things were taken away, like your man couldn't provide like financial stability, couldn't really be there for you, and was just, going through a rough time, what would you do? She said, I would leave him. I'm like, like, bro, what? I'm like, okay, so if you can't bring anything to the table, I'm supposed to keep dealing with you. I'm supposed to rock it out and like ride away with you. But as soon as a man can't provide certain things, we're like, oh yeah, we're not rocking with him, we're gonna find somebody else. I'm like, this is why we have one of the highest suicide rates right here, boy. Like that kind of stuff is a prime example as to why I think like equal rights is never gonna be a thing. I think that we'll never have equality across the board when it comes to certain things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What you got?
You read that. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel like we'll never have 100% equal rights. I mean, it's nice to believe that we could, but I don't find that to be realistic, at least in this day and age. I feel like maybe in the future one day, in the far, far future, when none of this matters and we're all like robots or something, and we're all going to be equal all the way around. But until then, I feel like everyone is different, and I feel like everyone needs to be treated differently, no matter man, woman, whatever. I feel like it shouldn't be like one outline for men, one outline for women. It should be outlined for everyone individually. I feel like,
You think we'll ever have equal rights across the board?
No. And I think a lot of times when a lot of people, they look at equal rights in terms of gender, and I feel like it's more towards basic equal human rights. But then there's a lot of other things that play into factors like race, ethnicity, like in economic status and stuff like that, but focusing on like basic human rights, even though like I feel like it's more basic like human rights that we're more trying to talk about and gear towards, even that in itself, I don't think will ever come to fruition. Like for instance, like even outside of relationships, within even sports, like a lot of times like, oh, like we want it to be equal and whatnot, but at the same time it's just like, you have to think about it, the disparity between the genders and like the level of performance is completely different. Like that's why they have like NBA, WNBA, and that's why even in college they have the different like levels. Especially they have a women's team, a men's team.
I think there should be equal human rights, but I don't think there'll ever be equal rights when it comes to the things that we're wanting when it comes to men and women. I think that won't really necessarily be there, but I definitely think we should all have equal rights when it comes to basic human principles. I think that's one thing that people neglect to understand. Like, we should all be able to have the basic needs. Shelter, clothing, food, what else is like a basic need? A job, stuff like that. I think we should all be able to have access to those things and being able to support not only ourselves, but like our immediate family. I think that should be something that we strive towards more than trying to create equal rights for, I guess, men versus women and things like that. But I also think at the same time too, going on to like another topic, I think we shouldn't be able to say like what one should have access to or one shouldn't have access to. And that goes towards like our bodies. Like I think a man should not be telling a woman how to treat her body, and a woman shouldn't be telling a man how to treat his body. It's like, how are you gonna try to tell me how to treat my body when you don't even have the parts that I have? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, women should be able to abort. Have you carried a baby before? Have you gone through the pain of like childbirth? If not, then I don't want to hear it, bro. And like with men, like, well, this is and this. I'm like, bro, you're not her. Like, you're not in her situation. You're not going through what she's going through. Yeah. And it, like, one thing I always think about, especially now, is like, think about all the women that are raped or like sexually assaulted, and they're carrying a baby that's not even like basically theirs, or that they didn't want. So then it's like,
you said raped. I think you said raked.
No, that rape is like. So you're telling me that person has to carry that child and live with the trauma, the PTSD of being in that situation. So when they're birthed, they're like, oh, you can give it up for adoption. I'm like, that defeats the whole purpose, bro. Like, that shouldn't even be on the table. Like, that shouldn't be something they have to deal with.
And the adoption system is like so fucked up.
No, it's trash, for real.
It's horrible. Like, some people adopt people just to get the money. They don't give a fuck about them or anything.
You don't even get that much money for, like, I looked it up the other day, like what kind of money you get when it comes to like fostering kids. It's not even a lot. So when people like get kids to foster them to like get a check.
That's why they get like 7, 8 at a time. They have like fucking 10 kids in the house, bro.
I'm like, bro, that's not even worth it. Like, the headache at that point.
Crazy.
That doesn't even pay for therapy. That does not come with a therapy cost, bro.
No, literally. Like, they think it's better, but it's really not.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. I feel like if parents have kids, therapy should be free.
They're what?
I said I feel like when parents have kids, therapy should be free. I just know I was as a kid. I'm like, golly, I'm not parents feeling with me.
But yeah, what else you got for the, like, is there anything else that you think when it comes to women's rights or things that we should, I guess, have a better understanding of? I feel like a lot of men don't have basic understanding of like what kind of things women go through or deal with.
So I feel like just like the littlest things can like affect our mental health. Like, so when I first started taking birth control, it kind of got me feeling depressed, to say the least, and it also made me break out because the type of because there's a bunch of different types of pills. Some pills can help with acne, like some people take it specifically to help with their acne and stuff like that, but some can produce acne, which is what mine basically did. And so I started breaking out, like prepubescent type of breakout, you know what I mean? And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, I was considering stopping taking the medication just because of how I was coming out, and I gained weight too, and I was like, oh great, like this is fucking perfect. But like after I kind of got into it, I kind of like my body kind of normalized to it. But I feel like it's also the same way with periods. Like, you get bloated, you get headaches. Literally, sometimes I stand up and I feel like fucking fainting. Like, I'll just be so lightheaded because I have anemia already, and then I'll be like, whoo, shit. Like, I'm at work, like, maybe I should go home. I have the cold sweats. Like,
iron deficiency, like.
I'll be like, they want me to get something. I'm like, you want me to get back up?
I had a friend like that in high school, bro. Like, she had iron deficiency, and there'd be times like she'd stand up, but like, I'm like, bro, we need some catch. Like, you get it?
My face gone. I've been looking dead. I'm like, I need some some water.
And Jesus name.
But yeah, and I feel like a lot of people, I feel like not a lot of guys, but I feel like there's some guys that are like, oh, she's using it as an excuse to get out of this, or an excuse to get out of this. Oh, she's on her period. Yeah, of course she's on her fucking period. She doesn't want to fucking do dishes. You know what I mean? Like some stupid shit like that. But it's like I feel like some people can use it in a negative way. You know, like using it as an excuse, like, oh, I don't want to do that because I'm on my blah blah. You know what I mean? But I feel like they've literally compared the pains to like pains of a heart attack. Like,
No way, for real?
yeah, like swear to God. Like they say that like the pain is the same pain as having like a heart attack. Like that's how bad it can get. And everyone is different. There's been like I know like my family, like they get it really bad where like the first day they'll be throwing up for like fucking hours. Like my sister, my mom, I'll be like, oh my God, that's crazy. Could that be me? But I don't know. I feel like a lot of people kind of, since everyone gets it, I feel like everyone's like, oh, everyone gets it. It's nothing. You know what I mean? But I feel like it really can like affect people mentally and physically.
No, for sure.
Yes.
So let's flip that. What about geared towards men?
You know, men actually, I read an article and they were saying that the same way women get periods once a month for a week and their mood switch, kind of, you know how they get like kind of like moody, like mood, what is it called? Mood swings? Yeah. I heard that guys experience something like that every single day. So when they wake up in the morning, they get like, what was it? When they, I really don't remember. I read it probably like a year or 2 years ago. No, nothing about that. No, but the same like emotions that women experience through a week cycle, men experience one every single day from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep. I really gotta look more into it to like tell you guys about it, but I read about it saying that, I mean, sure, it's not like the same cramps and pains and shit like that, but at least like mentally, like mood swings, stuff like that.
And you never know, I might be feeling something.
Yeah, exactly. Men and women go through the same thing sometimes. Maybe not actual things like that, but you know.
I think in terms of like the physical stuff, we don't go through the same stuff that y'all go through, but I definitely feel like the social pressures of life are astronomical when it comes to like what we have to deal with. Because a lot of men, it's like, okay, you're looking to create a family, you got to provide for them. You have to have financial stability, and a lot of the things that women want in a man, they ask of a lot, and not just in like the whole.
That's for sure.
Not only just like the whole family thing, but just from a society standpoint, a lot is put upon our plate as soon as like we're, I would say, out of high school. Like a lot is put upon your plate to figure out life, to become a better person, and just trying to get through life itself. So I feel like a lot is thrown upon our plate, and we have a hard time. I would say for me, especially in like the black community, we have a hard time just understanding like our emotions and our feelings because we're taught to suppress them, not to deal with them. No one really helps us learn how to find ourselves, and also no one really teaches us the ideal like man. Like no one tells us like what really like constitutes being a man, or like really shows us like what manhood is. And I feel like for us, like that's one of the hardest things to go through, trying to figure out what is a man, how do I become a man. And I feel like for the most part we're taught like, oh, if you can provide for yourself, that makes a man. But for me, it's like, I don't think that's what makes a man. I think how you treat people, how you care for yourself says more about you and shows more manhood than like being able to pay bills. Because anybody can go out and make money. Like anybody can get somebody pregnant and have a kid. It doesn't make you an actual father, if that makes sense. So I think the same thing kind of stems when it comes to manhood.
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to being a man, being a man is a biological thing when I think about it. It's more of society that determines who a man should be in terms of his personality and his what he brings to the table, per se. And a lot of times, I feel like it's a very detrimental thing to say, oh, what makes a man? It's like, well, that's different for every person and different for every relationship, because in some relationships, whatever that man's role may be may vary versus someone else's relationship. So I feel like a lot of society tries to epitomize like, oh, this is what a man should be, and like a lot of men like, oh well, dang, like I can't do that, I can't do that either. So dang, I guess I'm not a man. And
Yeah,
it's just like,
for sure.
it's like, well, maybe not all those things are meant for you in whatever relationship you're in, because whoever the woman you may be with, you guys should complement each other and to fill in the gaps where you guys are lacking. So I feel like when it seems like, oh, you should be a man, it's like, well, then, oh, this is what a man should be, but then, oh, a woman can do whatever she wants. If you guys are supposed to work together, how does that make sense? In my eyes.
Yo, solid, bro, for sure. Yeah, I feel like if it just comes to being open-minded and really truly sitting down with not just like a partner, but also just people on the whole and figuring out what is it that constitutes these things, and just having an open mind to understanding people, not just within our own races, but also people of different races. And I feel like once you can start to do that, everything becomes a little easier in terms of understanding basic human rights, women's rights, men's rights, understanding how to treat a man, how a woman should treat a man, how men should treat women. I think once you kind of get the gist of that, not that it becomes easy, but it becomes a little easier just to like not manifest, but make your path through life a little easier for yourself and for the people around you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Alright. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Deep Looking Podcast. Don't forget to check it out on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Remember to be you, be true, and change your story one narrative at a time.
Peace, guys.